Welcome to the Beauty Blend podcast, where we delve deep into the world of beauty from the inside out. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Brittany.
And today we have a special guest. Her name's Autumn, and we're going to let her introduce herself and just give us a little bit about your background.
Thanks for having me.
Yes,
I love you guys' podcast. And so my name is Autumn Davis. I'm a licensed social worker. I have my master's in social work, but I typically, my bread and butter is working in individual therapy. So I went to OSU undergrad and grad school, and mostly I work with teenagers and young adults, so that's me.
That's awesome. Is there anything specific that you specialize in with that? Everything, because life is
it's kind of a mixed match of anything. You know, typically with the younger, or not the younger, but the older teenagers, it's a lot about what you guys talk about a lot, which is body image issues, comparing yourself, trying to keep up with society, and all of that. You know, and so. With that, and then with the younger adults that I work with, in the 20s and 30s, you know, it grows into the same thing, you know. So it's really teaching. I really like to focus on accepting yourself for who you are, and loving yourself as you are. And it's not always easy.
No.
You know. It's not always easy.
Heck no, it's not.
And it's not perfect every time.
No.
You may get to a point where you're like, hey, this is me. I love myself. I love my body. And then, you know, you may wake up the next day and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? You know?
I see a picture. I thought I was looking good, and then I see a picture, and I'm like, no.
Or video.
No, what
or
is
video.
It's not translating.
Right?
We do joke a lot, you leave the house and you feel like you look, I'm like, gosh, I look great.
Something
my
falls
hair's
apart
looking
along the
good,
way.
my makeup's on point, and then I go to my car to the next location, and what happened? I'm like, I look terrible all of a sudden.
Oh.
And we talk about it all the time,
Good
how it's like, what happened?
just today.
What happened in the 5 minutes from my car to the next building? Did I just completely change? It's melted. But anyway, we talk about that.
And by whose standards?
My own,
Right?
right?
It's your own, right?
There you go.
So you have to catch yourself in that negative thought loop. It's I'm
true.
having a negative thought about myself. Let's switch that around.
Yeah.
Reframing.
Yep.
Easier said than done, though.
Absolutely.
I'm kind of curious when you were talking about the adolescence, because I don't know, maybe it's the same, but is there anything specific pressure-wise that teenagers nowadays are feeling or is affecting them more with their confidence than maybe we experienced years ago?
I mean, I think that it's
weird.
all very similar as it relates to where we are in time, right? So, especially me growing up, I'm older than you guys by a minute, but I
Might be around my
we didn't have social media when I was growing up. We didn't have cell phones when I was growing up. I sound so old. But, you know, so everything that we were seeing was MTV, you know, and we're seeing all of these beautiful dancers and singers and all of that, all of these models, you know, so we had that kind of, you know, skinny is.
I talk about that, yeah.
Yes.
How old are you?
Oh my gosh.
Are we saying this on the pod?
I'm 35.
I'm
You're the same age.
Oh,
I thought you guys were.
See,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you've been doing the skincare thing.
That's trying. I'm trying.
Listen, we're kidless.
But no, I watched
Yeah, and you guys don't have
about
kids.
this. So our generation was rail thin, skinny.
Well,
Yes.
there's a thing I saw recently about Britney Spears or somebody like that, and how back in the day they ridiculed her and called her fat at one point, and she literally, I don't even think she normal. I would call her very skinny at today's standards.
Yeah.
And that's what we kind of grew up seeing, at least, in newspapers and magazines and whatever, music videos was the big thing on MTV.
Well, and it's I don't know if you guys, I'm not here to promote anybody's books or whatever, but if you guys have read her book yet,
No.
Oh my gosh, it's incredible. All of the pressure that she was under,
Such a young age.
yeah, to be perfect. I was listening to one of your podcasts the other day about the perfection and kind of comparing yourself to other people and what people expect of you, when you guys were cheerleading, you know, things like that. It's
oh my gosh, yes.
and I have to say,
Talk about that.
one of the bigger things that a lot of my teenagers that come in that have these body image issues, they do come from, they were cheering from a very young age or dancing from a very young age. And, you know, and I'm not here to say that you guys shouldn't be doing that, you know, but I do think that there are a lot of correlations between doing something with that depends on your body for the sport and even though the coach isn't being mean, it is their job
Like
to
subconscious, yeah.
to like say, hey, suck your belly in, stand up straight,
Oh, yeah.
like that kind
Or
of
they
thing.
tier people based off of their size. So like you're a
Yes.
flyer because
I
you're
was a
this big
flyer.
around. You're a base because you're bigger. You know, there's certain roles you have in the squad or whatever,
right.
your team because of your size.
So
almost.
the flyer's the one that they throw
the little
there.
girls.
I started off as that though, but then it messed me up when I became a base
taken
because then I
out.
thought I was getting chunky or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
Because
and
they're like, you're too heavy to throw
yeah.
up in the air.
When we use cheerleading a lot, I agree dance is the same way, and I'm
Dance is
sure other
definitely the
sports,
same
but
way.
with cheerleading, not only as your skill judged, but actually your uniform and how you look during your routine is judged. So with our skin, you wear the skimpy outfits, and how your full team looks is also a big part of your score and everything else. So I think there's a lot of pressure, not even just being skinny on the team, but when you're out performing or competing, that your whole image with your team, you could change that based on your size.
and like, can we just like talk
Different
about
route.
the can we talk about like how
Yeah.
that equates into like you have to be like everybody else?
Yes.
You know,
That's true.
from a very young age, you have this
Try to fit
mentality.
in.
You have to fit in. You have to be like everybody else if you want to fit in. You know, I think that's a
I
really
remember
great
wanting
point.
to be a cheerleader so that I could fit in being with the cool kids.
And-
Yeah,
and being
for
like
sure.
Girly girl,
and cutie, yeah, cute. Well, and I will also say for myself at least, it's like what we're told is bigger on that team is not even big at all. Like I used to think I was huge, and looking back, I'm like I was what I would have considered today normal size, but because I was not the little teeny flyer, I felt ginormous and huge. So I think that plays a big impact on your view of what size.
So you're seeing
is.
that manifest more now too.
I say affected me, yeah,
No,
long
I'm
term.
talking
Oh, her.
about
Oh.
her experience.
Autumn's like,
no,
listen,
no, talk about like people she talks to, like
yeah, not just cheerleaders.
Well,
Obviously,
yeah, and
but,
so like
yeah.
you know, moving on from like when we were kids, and you know, nowadays they have social media, they have all of these things, and I have to say, like, I do think that there has been a huge shift in the movement, like loving your body and you know, as you are, you know, and I think that is helping somewhat, but you know, there's so much pressure on especially teenage girls to like fit in with everybody else, and it's like we're not all built the same. We're just not.
No.
You know?
Even just go ahead.
Oh no, I just remember at that age trying to compare myself to the same build as everyone else. And I was never the same build, so I was hard on myself with that.
I agree. I even just use social media. I just feel like it's hard with like filters and all the editing and stuff we can do on social media. I actually feel grateful that I grew up in the era I did, because I think if I grew up, I was at the brink. I feel like because I'm a few years younger, I was at the brink of where social media started to become a thing, but it was nowhere near what it is now, and I'm thankful for that, because I think I would have spiraled. I really do. I already do kind of spiral.
Yeah, I get texts from
I
you
already
late
get
night.
spirally sometimes nowadays, so I
Yeah.
can't imagine at that age what that would have done. Just seeing and really not knowing reality, from all the filters and the fake. I don't know how you distinguish that in your own brain,
Right.
of what to expect for yourself when we're given.
Well, and
all
it's
that.
like, why do we even need a filter, right? So it makes you even question like all the way back. It's like, wait, why do I need a filter?
Right.
Why do I need this blur? And then you see it and you're like, huh. And then it just
I always joke that back in the day before filters, the cameras weren't
that
as
is your
good.
joke.
So it was a nice dark, grainy. I don't like these camera upgrades where I can see every pore.
I just got a new
need
camera,
a
and
filter.
she's like, "We're never using that
Never.
camera. It shows everything."
I'm like, bring back the 2008 camera where you could hardly take one on your phone. You had to have a whole separate camera.
It's
Anyway,
true.
yeah.
And the lighting's bad.
Yeah, lighting's
and
bad.
You're like,
You barely
you're like
see
a
me.
shadow. And you
Yeah,
think you look
shadow
great.
figure. But anyway.
That's a good point. So I know we keep talking about the adolescent age, because I'm just kind of curious. Is there anything in particular you would tell your adolescent client on what to do? I mean, it's probably hard. How do you
honestly, they
them?
don't listen to me, which is like very adolescent, right? But the biggest thing I would say, and even maybe not so much to the kids because they don't have so much self-control, like parents should really be monitoring their social media and what they're seeing, and open up the discussion about what is beautiful and why it's beautiful and why you're beautiful, but, for the kids that do have, and even young adults do have that kind of I guess, willpower to like start making those algorithms like more body positive, do it.
Yeah.
You know, because the more we see all of these things of how we should be, right? You can't see me, but I'm doing quotes, air quotes.
Some people can see it.
But, you know, that is, it just further, you know, gets embedded into our brains. Like, this is what's beautiful. And then you lose sight of like who you are and what makes you happy.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree.
I struggled with skin issues, so I recently, when I reactivated my Instagram, decided to go. I searched who are good, like authentic skin people that show like all their scars, like people that actually have like acne scars that are in
That
like
show it
that
and
show
don't
it
hide
and
who
don't
they look
filter
like.
it, and I decided to follow all of them.
That's good. Kind of like
That's
your
awesome.
thing.
Yeah.
Filtering your timeline.
Yeah, because I was like, I
Yeah.
need to see that, and that it's like not necessarily normal, but
It's
accepted
human.
or human. Yeah,
It's human.
I even think this is kind of a total switch of topic, but even just like negative things, like negative news and all that, I've changed my timeline so that it's like positive affirmations or like
Right.
positive accounts, because I agree it can be a lot when you see
Good
a ton
job,
in it. I know,
Steph.
I'm proud of you. But yeah, just so you don't see quite as much. Now I'm also going to go back to the adolescent thing because I'm thinking for myself, like I see kids, these day kids, they're only so much younger than me, but they look like when I was their age.
Oh
the
my
outfits
gosh,
we
I
wore,
know.
I laugh at some of the videos that are out there, like back when I
and
was
they're getting like
preteen.
injections and fillers and stuff.
Like young.
What?
Yes. Like
My
real
kids are
young.
like, I have 2 9-year-old girls and a almost 7-year-old boy. So I am not crossing that bridge yet. But
Yeah.
oof.
It's hard.
But like
You're
that was
right at
never
age where
even
you
that
gotta-
was not a thing. Even until I was like 30, I was like I was secretive about it.
It wasn't even until my
It wasn't
mid-20s I even considered that was an option for me, let alone. But just even like their outfits, since I'm not saying, oh, you can't wear those outfits, but they just look so much older
Than I
at
did.
their age than I ever did. I feel like I looked like a preteen up until I was like 20, and I'm just, I don't know. I don't know if that's the pressure of social media or what, but it's just amazing to me how they're dressed.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can fast forward to people more our age on how they
But can
feel.
I also
but-
say, like, just
yeah.
on that note, it's like, also, if that's what makes you feel good, do it.
Right, and I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I
Where's
think
the
that.
line?
You had something recently. You want to tell the audience? Yeah, yeah.
Autumn doesn't even
It's
know,
time.
I don't think.
It's time. This set you up. You gotta.
I was not prepared
I know.
to make an announcement. No.
But it is along the
But
same
actually, I
lines.
want to get into this kind of with her, too, about where that line is.
Well,
I finally.
we were on here talking about injections, and she says she really wants to try all the natural things.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
This is mean. I did finally get the talks.
You did.
I did.
Hey, I've done it too.
Yeah, I'm.
Me too.
And it's
Yeah.
fun. Here's what I struggle with for a
But it is kind of like drinking the Kool-Aid for her. She'll all of a sudden text me
I freak out
spiraling about
sometimes.
other things. Like, you were so confident in your lips, then all of a sudden you're like, what do I got
I
to
hate my lips. No, I don't hate them. I don't hate my
No,
lips.
but you're
But
like,
that's how I feel like I act. So my big thing is when I spiraled. So I got the talks. I did the talks, and I did. I have a big forehead line. It was driving me insane, and I just had to. I had to do something.
Can I just say I've never noticed?
Oh, thank you.
But okay. But now it's completely gone, so now I don't notice.
I mean, you have a big line anyway, but
It bugged me. Like I was
bothered
starting,
her,
you know,
though.
we see ourselves more being in business. We see ourselves in videos and pictures a lot more. So
Oh,
every
for
time I
sure.
see it, I'm like, oh, I got to do something about that. And the
Girl,
industry
get
we're in.
bangs. That's why I have bangs.
Bangs are cute. I could have done that. I
my
think
hairstylist
greasy.
did that for me before I got Botox.
I bet you're greasy.
He was trying to help me out. He's like, this girl needs some.
Cover this.
Yeah.
But I did the talks, and I'm glad I did it. I actually don't regret it.
Good.
When I first did it, I was kind of like, I remember texting her, and I'm like, I felt like my identity. It was like my identity was to not do that. So I was like, kind of struggled with that for a second. But then I saw the results, and I'm like, no, I'm kind of glad I started when I did.
It made you feel, you said you felt a confidence.
I felt a
boost after you
huge
did it.
confidence boost. Yes.
So-
I
So
felt
what
so much
was
better.
it? What was it that had you thinking that you shouldn't do this?
Part
exactly.
of it, okay. I don't know. Maybe we can analyze this today. I think a part of me is I always advocate for like alternative or natural approaches. So I like wanted to stick by that. And I have tried a lot of alternative things, and I just wasn't getting. I will say there are things I've done that have helped,
but
and I
it's
will
not
continue.
completely getting rid of what.
Yeah,
you
and I will
wanting.
continue to do them with the talks because I think it's going to help expand the
Absolutely.
time between the talks. So I'm not even opposed to any of the stuff I did, but it just wasn't getting me where I wanted to be. And I just feel like that was just my identity. I do the natural things first, and I think I was.
And that's what you did.
And I did it. I did do that for a while. But here's what I think my concern was, and it's kind of happening, is that I felt like I was afraid that I would spiral once I started it. Where do I stop? Like, will I keep trying other things?
Because I've talked about that with myself.
Yeah, and I do feel like other people I know who've started, I feel like talks is kind of like the gateway drug
Yeah.
for aesthetics a little bit, where it's like, okay, I started here, now let me try X, Y, and Z. So I was kind of afraid of where I'm going to go, and it is interesting because there's definitely things now, like, I'll notice, like, oh, maybe my lips need a little something, or I'm starting to notice, like, my under eyes are bugging me, like, considering lipo. Like, there's just
She never talked about any of those things before.
Never.
Which I thought was interesting.
And so now
Well,
I
and
feel
how
like
much
I've
of that has been put in your head by the doctor who was giving it to you?
Well, that I also think that's true. Well, actually, they knew I was very nervous. I think it doesn't help the industry I'm in, though. Like in the beauty industry, I'm around a ton of perfectly beautiful people who do all these things, and they'll encourage it. Like if I just make a comment about, even just the other day, we were at a meeting with someone, and I made a comment about like, I'm losing weight, but not, how I want. And they were like, well, you should go to so-and-so for lipo. And it's like they immediately, like, that's the answer.
Oh.
That's what you hear all day. And I'm like, well, maybe I do need that quick fix. And just gets in my head. So my big issue is, where do I stop? I mean, thankfully I do feel like I have self-control. But it's like, where does it end?
Yeah.
And that's my concern. And anybody who gets into like some of the stuff is like, how, you see the people who you're like, they definitely have done too much.
Yeah,
and
for
like
sure.
you kind of feel bad for them because you know that they never felt like what they had done was enough. And like, I do not want to get to that point where I like just do the most because I never felt enough. Yeah. So that's my concern in the aesthetics Botox world. But I did finally do the talks. I don't regret it. I would actually recommend it to somebody who is on that brink. I actually am glad. I do feel like it was good for me to do.
Good. And from my understanding with Botox, like the earlier you start, the easier it is to get it under control. I don't see, this is one of those things, like if it's something that makes you feel more confident in yourself, then by all means. But if you're trying to keep up with society's standards, that's where you have to like look at yourself in the mirror, both figuratively and literally, and ask yourself, is this going to make me happy, or is this going to make me more accepted by society, or make me, up to their standards?
Like your whoever partner.
So I was just going to bring up like being
dating.
single. I do feel like there's a lot more pressure of like, I have to look a certain way to be desired, right? So I think that's put more pressure on me now too, of like one getting older, because I do feel like, I hate to say it, but like a lot of men want a younger woman, or you just feel like you're starting to notice being older in the dating world, and I'm like trying to keep up with aging gracefully.
Date older then.
Well, I'm okay dating older.
Just kidding.
Where are you? No, if you're listening, no. But yeah, so I just think that's a lot of pressure on it too, of like looking a certain way or feeling more confident because of like dating or going on dates. Like I don't want to feel nervous that they're going to find me attractive, right, going into a date.
Right, but at the end of the day, like if it's something that you're doing to like catch a fish, it's, and then once you get them in the boat, it's like, what happens when your filler goes out? What happens when your Botox runs out? Like, are you going to continue to keep up this facade of like, this is how beautiful I am all the time?
Yeah.
So you want to, by that logic, you are going to maybe end up with somebody who doesn't love you for you.
Superficial, for sure.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's funny you say that, and I get it, like for somebody else, but for myself, it's like you don't see it that way.
Oh, that's how it always is.
Yeah.
100%.
I have like a friend who like is getting married, and so they want to get their dream body, so they're doing all the lipo, the boob lifts, the talks, and I'm like,
for a day.
for one day, and I'm like, here's what happened. Not that people look terrible when you get married, but it's like you look great on this wedding day, but we are aging and life's happening, and you're not going to look like that one person for the rest of your life. So when you look back, or when they look, your significant other looks back, is that really who you really are?
Right. Wait, did I sign up for this?
Yeah, seriously. So I'm like, or we get pregnant, we gain weight, we get pregnant, and all that stuff. So it's like that's changing.
That's a
your
real
whole
thing.
body's changing
And stuff when you're pregnant either.
Or
You're not supposed to.
or any of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just interesting how with other people, I'm like, oh, that's weird that they do that. But then for myself, I'm like, no, I need to do all that. But I don't know. There's just a lot of pressure, I think, to like look a certain way.
We've talked about before, though. So like the energy that you carry is really what's attracting people.
For sure.
Yeah.
For
and
sure.
I agree, the superficial isn't what I want.
If you want like a
obviously.
superficial relationship.
Well, and this goes back to like the time that we're in, right? It's like you can be on, I don't even know what the dating things are.
Like Hinge,
Tinder.
Bumble,
Like,
eHarmony, you name
so
it.
I mean, it is like they can swipe so quickly, and they don't get a chance to get to know you
When I'm guilty of that
and
myself.
your vibe. Yeah.
Like I feel so judgmental. I mean, I'm left all the time. It's rare that I swipe, and then when I do that, I'm like, that's so superficial of how
Yeah.
fast I am to swipe left than I am to swipe right and like someone.
Yeah.
Just based off of a picture and one look. I even read the profile before I do it. And I bet many, many people are like that.
Well, and you know what's interesting? This is kind of like on a different topic, but like psychology shows that the more you are exposed to somebody, the more attractive you will find them.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Based on
So
past.
like, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like you may
Past
meet
dating.
somebody and you're like, oh, I'd never date that guy. But then like you spend more and more time with them
You
and
get
you're
to
like,
know them.
oh, hey, I think I like this guy.
We've
You know?
talked about that before.
Yeah, that's
in my own world. I did that. Yeah, I mean, you start to like their personality, and you find them more attractive. So,
Yeah.
but it's hard when you're on a dating app. That's why meeting someone organically is just so much more. preferred.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
It's hard, but again, I think even post pandemic, I think that's gotten harder. I think it's already been hard, and I think with people don't go out and do as much. There's not as much going on. I think it's a lot harder. And getting
Yeah.
older, I think we're all kind of stuck in our ways. We like to go home and chill, and
Oh,
not,
yeah.
and not go out, drinking or whatever like we used to do. So I think it's just a harder way to meet people. But
Yeah.
It's a hard curve, but I want to talk about it.
do a straight curve.
Do it.
Curve in
Because
away from
this
dating.
experience today. Well, I just feel like we talked a lot
No, we did,
about
yeah.
anything. So what's the interject between like women not speaking up when there's something
This is a hard curve, but I like it.
Okay, because it happened to me today. It's something small, and I didn't correct. And I feel like maybe I'm like afraid of. I could have said something earlier. Is my point.
Yeah.
But like, there's that kind of pattern I find myself in.
That is the classic people pleasing
Yeah.
tendencies that a lot of us have, you know.
It's like going to the nail salon, and you like hate your
Oh,
nails when you
it's
walk out. It looks
beautiful.
great, and you're like
Yeah,
crying on the
yeah.
way out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I spent an hour. I'm guilty too. I spent an hour filing my nails down a couple weekends ago because she made them
way
so
too
long.
Oh yeah.
And so I was like, I'll go outside. I'll be outside, guys, and just like file my nails down for an
my
hour.
gosh.
So I'm guilty of it too. But it's like, there's the way that I try to look at it is this something that I can deal with on my own?
Right.
But also like, it really depends on the situation. Like I know my hairstylist, love her. I've
Yeah.
been with her for a really long time, and she wants that feedback, and because she wants you to come back to her,
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess it really
Changing
depends
the
on
narrative of how I look at saying it.
well, and you're looking at yourself as like the problem.
The problem, yeah.
You're not the
exactly. Like, I don't
problem.
want to be a problem. I don't want to be a disturbance or
Right.
Or like,
Whatever.
And I bet you
whiny
paid a
or
lot of
picky or
money
picky.
yeah, that is
for
a lot
those
of money.
service. Yeah.
I this is like a stupid. I think about it during massages. I get massages regularly, and they'll be like, "Make sure you communicate and tell me how the pressures." And they tell you that over and over again. The good ones do, at least. And sometimes I'll still sit
just,
there,
like, I know.
and I'm like, "That's not hard enough." But why do I like? They give me the ability to say it, and I'm still like silent. I'm mute. And I don't.
Same. That's
it's
the
like
same
people
thing,
that-
though.
yes.
They want you to come back. They want that
I know,
feedback,
but
and
why
they want you
can't
to
we
leave
just say it?
happy.
Yeah.
And
I will
here's
come
another
back.
thing too. It's like
That's the other problem. I'll still come back probably.
Yeah, I will too.
so. There's a place in Dublin. I don't know. I probably shouldn't say their name. No.
You can say.
Okay.
It. Sure.
So
don't know.
it's Hand and Stone massage,
yeah.
right? So they have these buttons underneath, so you can
No way.
communicate non-verbally
Okay. Wait.
what
I
you
love
need.
that.
Yeah, and I think that is such
Oh,
a
is it not
genius
Hand and Stone?
idea.
Oh.
Yeah, so you say I need it a little bit harder or I need a little bit softer.
I
I don't,
a button.
I don't
And
have
it's
to
a button.
verbally speak it.
I don't
Here's
have
why
to
I kind of
say
like
it.
that too, especially for a massage. Is I want to be quiet. I don't really want to have a whole conversation about anything. So I kind of like the button system because it's good for us nervous people.
Yeah,
And you don't have to communicate.
yeah.
Well, I like.
Well, and I think the communication part is important too, because if you think about it, like how many, it's so much easier to like send a text message to
Yeah.
somebody about like something that maybe you don't agree with or you're not happy with. Whereas like for whatever reason we have this
Yeah,
face to face.
Yeah, I freeze.
Like, well, what do
got no
I
words.
do?
I have no
are gone.
words. Words gone.
They
Right.
don't exist. I'm not mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never was
Yeah,
mad.
no, I'm fine. I'm fine.
There's no issues.
But it's like the same thing. There's something about like being vulnerable and like actually verbalizing something to somebody that just kind of it just opens you up for feedback that you may not want.
Run. Either,
You know,
yeah.
That's true. That's actually a
Afraid
really
of how,
good point.
I think part of me is afraid of how someone's going to react too.
Sure.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
the people pleasing for sure.
Yeah.
Getting a reaction. But I agree. I think that's a good point of like, I don't really want to tell you how you're doing something wrong because then I don't want you to have to tell me what I'm doing wrong.
Yes.
In any relationship
At the
with
end of the
anybody,
day,
girl, guy, whatever.
Everything really is a reflection back at us, though.
is.
You know,
It
I talk
is.
about that a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Like things that make us explain that more. Like what you mean by that?
Like anything I'm judging really is a
Yeah.
judgment on myself.
Oh,
Yes.
100%.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And so I could be shaming. I don't want to ever shame someone, but let's say I was shaming someone for something. Really, at the end of the day, it's something about me that I don't like.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree. It's like something that you're noticing in yourself,
Yeah.
so you're bothered by it.
Yeah. Or like
someone else.
we're talking about like Instagram, for example.
Yeah.
We're seeing all these girls. Maybe they're bothering me, but at the end of the day, what does that say about me? You know what I mean?
That's true. Or like personality traits of people. You're like, why am I annoyed by that? Probably because
The
I
part
wish
of-
I was that.
Or a
and
part of me
accept
that I don't like or want to accept.
about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, that's
a big
really
one.
good point.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's all crazy. We love to play mental games with ourselves.
Don't we?
Do you have any like tips for people just like when they're catching themselves in a moment of like being tough on themselves, something they can do like in that moment?
So
Or even just become more aware of it? Maybe that's a good place to start.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the first part is like realizing that you're doing it, realizing that you're having these negative thoughts about yourself. Even if it's like, oh, I'm, not even body related, but like, oh, I'm running late. I'm always late. I'm worthless. I'm never like, and kind of going down that trail. Like, if you're running late, it's okay. You're human. We all run late. Or if you're having these, negative thoughts about like the wrinkle that you had
Yeah.
on your,
Darn
right?
wrinkle.
It's like, where did that come from?
Yeah. I don't know.
I know where it came from. It's because you smile and you have an
The wrinkle.
expressions.
Yeah. That's true.
So it's like kind of noticing when you're having these negative thoughts about yourself and maybe trying to find a reason for it, find purpose for it, find meaning for it that isn't a negative thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, girl, these crow's feet, oof. But I smile and I laugh so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's a part of who I am.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I think the most important part is like saying, I'm having a negative thought about myself and recognizing it as, and something that my own therapist told me a long time ago and it stuck with me really hard. Thoughts are not facts,
That's true.
right?
Yeah.
So when you have a negative thought about yourself, challenge it. Take it to court.
Yeah.
Prove it wrong. Show me the evidence.
Yeah.
Right. I like that a lot. Yeah, I need to do that. I need to do that more.
You can actually, it can be kind of fun too.
Start fighting with yourself. No, I feel like I have arguments with myself all the time.
Yeah.
I know we wanted to talk about too, like a little bit of like tips to fight winter or seasonal depression. That's a big thing right now, right? With the sun never being out, working all day and never seeing daylight. Do you have any tips for people?
So I know
on
this
that?
is like an artificial kind of thing,
Okay.
but I have a lamp. It's like a sun lamp.
Happy lamp.
A happy lamp. That's what it is.
Yes.
And so it will wake me up. Like it rises like
timer?
the sun.
Oh, cool.
okay.
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
kind of like wakes me up gently. And then so there's that, and then there's also like I don't think we're talking about the same thing. So the one that I have is like a clock.
Yours is like a clock.
It's a timer.
That's cool.
The happy lamp it has like whatever we need from the sun that we don't get during the winter, But most, of course, that part is really important. But connecting with your friends, getting out and doing something even when you don't want to. It's called in therapy we call it opposite action. When you feel like laying down and going to sleep, go for a walk.
Do something, move.
When you feel like isolating, call a friend. So it's kind of like doing these opposite action and like for the love of God, stick to your routine. Just because it's 6:00 and it's dark out doesn't mean you have
to go to
to.
bed.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what's so hard. It's like you see the sun go down, you're like, shoot, I should be asleep
I think
by now.
you're almost naturally tired too when that happens.
100% because the sun's down. I
Yeah.
think that's where the happy light and all that comes in handy though to kind of help keep that sleep
I'll have
wake
to look
cycle a
into
little
that.
bit better.
Yeah.
And not dismissing that seasonal depression isn't real because it is, but
Oh,
do you
for
feel
sure.
like there's a part of it where it's like we almost make ourselves worse because we're anticipating being depressed in the winter? Like I feel
like a
myself-
self-fulfilling
Yes.
prophecy.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think there's that. And then I also think that, hold on, I had a thought and it went somewhere. I forgot what I was going to say.
Okay, might come
back
back.
if you-
Yeah.
Okay. But I think that there is a lot of, we're inside.
Yeah.
We're trying to stay cozy, which is fine, like embrace it. But I think most importantly is connecting with your social circle.
Yeah.
continuing to do what's important to you. Go to the gym, get some exercise. When I say go to the gym, you don't have to like, bust out 5 miles a day.
Right.
Just go to the
Like
gym.
a social
Some
event
kind of
kind of.
physical
Yeah.
activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walk a little. You don't have to do anything intense. I feel like that's people think about going to the gym and doing something real hardcore.
Yeah.
But you can just walk.
Oh, I know what I was going to say. I caught it.
Yeah.
So I think also like with seasonal depression, it's not only like the sun going down, but it's also the holidays and all of these things that build up to it and all of this anxiety that builds up to it. And it's, you get into your head about like, oh, I don't want to do this, or should I do this? Or my family is expecting me to do this. And it's
Family
like,
expectations are big.
yes, yes. And it's like, what kind of environment am I going to walk into?
What chaos. How much do I need to drink to get
Remember
through
when
this?
you
What?
opened the door for me?
To drink. Yeah, listen. Not that I encourage this, but we have
No.
to drink sometimes to get
But
through
she
family
goes.
things.
She was already there before me, and she was like,
It was
"Brittany,"
bad.
she was like, "The energy right now."
I
She
remember the event,
She
but-
gave me wine before I even.
I
got
like
in the
threw it
door.
back. I was like, you're gonna
She's
need
like, "Here,
this.
drink this
You're gonna
before you
need
walk
it."
in
Oh
here.
my gosh.
Just the expectation. I'm like, you're gonna want this.
Yeah.
Like,
That's just one
so we know to pregame sometimes.
Depends.
You got to
yeah,
do
you're
what you got to do.
I mean, that's a lot of don't do it excessively. But
well, and it's
you
not,
do it
and
more as a
so
fun
you
big
have
joke.
like these family expectations,
Yes.
right?
Which
You
is what's gonna
have,
happen.
for a lot of people who like have kids, you also have to figure out your work schedule.
Right.
You, financially are probably a little more
100%.
strained than usual, buying gifts and
Oh,
whatnot.
Ton of gifts.
You know, so I mean, all of it just it's just a recipe for disaster for sure. So it's like the most important part is really taking care of yourself, like practicing that self-care, whatever it is for you,
And then the aftermath of all that, when
was
I was
just gonna
all
say.
the stuff is kind of settled. Does that
Dies
when people
down.
kind of like it hits them or?
Oh yeah, so like there's like this big buildup in
Yes.
November and December,
All these things
and
going
then
on.
and then once January hits and everything kind of settles down, it's just like shoom, just kind of goes downhill for a lot of people, and they're stagnant. They have like they're done with all of their family events where they like may feel like they have to go, and so they do like kind of forced to get up and
To do
and
things.
socialize, and come January, February, it's like
Everyone
what do you
hides.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know,
You don't have really many probably trips planned until months later too, so you're feeling kind of
right,
slow,
right.
which is okay. We talk about this. It's okay to slow down, but it is hard when you have all this build up and then
Well, and so like
nobody's around anymore.
Yeah. And so like what I would encourage, especially like you said, this is going to come out in January-ish. So like make some goals for yourself, make some personal goals for yourself, and if you're comfortable, share them with somebody to keep you accountable.
Right.
Get accountability buddy. Brittany and I
yeah.
did that
I mean,
for a while. It is
yeah.
helpful.
Oh yeah, I did do that.
Yeah.
I made her. I said if I don't do this, I have to pay you $100.
And if you do it, set it where it's like we did it where like we checked in, we had goals, right? And if we didn't do it, we owed each other $100. Now that was a lot for us to lose. We're like, that's a lot of money. So I always encourage them, like, if you're gonna do something like that, set it where it's like you do not want to like lose whatever it is
Right.
you're giving up or paying. Paying was our big thing.
Yeah, that's great.
I think
great.
a dream board too, or like something like setting goals, doing some kind of visual of what you want for the next year or for the next month. Even doesn't have to be that
Keep you
big,
motivated.
just to keep you targeted, and motivated on something. And then getting a buddy to do it with you so that you can keep each other.
And also keeping it realistic too.
Yes.
That part is really important. People come up with these New Year's resolutions.
Oh yeah.
Like, God bless.
right.
But, if you're going into the new year and you're like, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times a week and you haven't been for 6 months, that's not going to happen. Don't do that to yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Like say, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times this month.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Don't care when it is. And if you go more, great. If not, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Right.
But, if you're setting yourself up for failure, if you set yourself a big goal like that, that's hard to reach.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
just
true.
stressed trying to hit the goal. No, I think that's good advice. Anything else in terms of winter? Yeah. Any other advice you want to give people or any topics that you feel like they'll need for the winter? Mental health? It's probably so many things.
Honestly, like the biggest thing that I preach is self-care.
Yeah.
Just take care of yourself. And again, like whatever that means.
What does that look like to you?
For me, I love to read. I love watching my crime shows. I spend a lot of time with my family, especially in the winter when we have like all the kids out of school, and we spend a lot of time with like my mom and dad, and I really enjoy that time with my family. But it's whatever makes you happy, whatever makes you feel fulfilled,
Right. I have a fun little winter activity that I do. It's paint by numbers. I always tell people
Oh,
about this.
yes. I've been doing that
Have
recently.
you? I'm a paint by
Yes.
numbers person, and it's something you can
I don't know
do.
what that is.
It's just like you literally have a canvas or some kind of draw, like painting, and they give you the paint. You paint by the number. So, like, the paint is associated with a number. And you just paint, you fill in the painting. Basically, you don't have to like
Oh, okay.
draw
So
it
you're
from
saying-
scratch.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like what we used to do as kids,
Yeah,
but they make
yeah.
it like for adults
okay.
now, and you can
Cool.
it's complicated. It takes forever in a great way because it's like dark at night, but you don't want to like go to sleep. It gives you kind of a calming.
Cool.
And even
they're
like a
pretty.
more simple thing that I really like doing too is the paint by stickers.
Oh, I
so you don't
haven't
have to
done
get
that.
all the books or get all the paint out and
with
everything.
stickers.
It's not messy. And and they have like these really small, like
Yeah, they're
intricate ones,
hard.
too.
Some of them.
I have to
Yeah.
use tweezers.
Oh my
like
gosh.
they're tiny.
I think that would
Yeah.
annoy me.
Oh, it's
I'd
like
be getting
very,
frustrated.
yeah. Well, if there's people around, like
Yeah.
children,
Yeah.
then it
Yeah,
can get
what you have,
frustrating.
yeah.
But yeah, it's really calming. It makes you kind of focus, take your mind off of things.
And it's a creative outlet in a sense,
Yeah.
too. Where you
Yeah.
feel like you've created something, but it's nothing like that's been too exhausting. or
Yeah.
whatever. So I always say that's a great, you can do it all year round, but I
Right.
love it as my like fall, winter
Right.
activity. It's
Yeah,
good one.
find
I
a
love the
hobby.
Stickers.
for sure.
Hobby's a big one.
I've been
Love it.
teaching my kids my girls how to crochet.
I've never
So
learned
that has
yeah.
been really fun. And they're not very good at it
That's
yet.
okay. You don't have to be.
I'm big on hobbies because that's what led me into changing careers. Actually,
Little hobbies.
Little
It's turned
hobbies,
into
yeah.
lifestyle.
eventually
Yeah.
it ended up being
Like, what's one of them?
It just spiraled. Well, I was in real estate and I had a mentor that was like, "What's something that you've always wanted to do, just haven't done it?" And I was like, "Take pictures." So
yeah,
I went
I
out
know
and
this.
bought like a professional camera and just started taking pictures of random stuff. And then eventually that led me into jewelry. And I like taking pictures of jewelry.
That is a
Picture of
jump.
jewelry.
I know, but it's like, but it kind of like, that's how
You've
it
always
started.
been good at photos.
That's
yeah.
how it kind of started. Yeah.
You never know what's
You
gonna
never know what's going to
snowball.
snowball. I guess is the
Yeah.
point,
Yeah. Maybe I'll become a painter. Just kidding.
Yeah.
I won't.
Never
I'm not
know,
good
though.
like that. I'm good at paint by numbers,
Yeah.
and that's about it. But I enjoy. I hang them. They're good. They're pretty enough to hang and stuff too.
Yeah.
Depending on how they go. That's cool. I like that. The hobbies. Awesome. I think that's good for our beauties out there. Thanks for being on here with us.
Yeah,
We
of
appreciate
course. You
having
guys are awesome.
Oh, thanks.
you.
Bye, beauties.
Bye, beauties.
Boxland Media. Think big.